What's a terrifying fact about space? The sheer distance between things. It's scary and somewhat depressing. Even if we could travel at the speed of light, it would take 4 years just to get to the closest star. If we're ever going to visit other star systems, we need to figure out some kind of wormhole tech or space-bending tech, because otherwise, realistically, nobody's going to be going anywhere outside our own solar system. It never ends, or maybe it does, and then what? No sound. There's the fun fact, if we could hear the sun, at its distance of 90 million miles away, Earth would hear the roar of a train about 10 feet from you at all times everywhere. Some fun consequences of this would be how people would have evolved. Most notably, our name for the Earth and all words in all languages through all history would be what? The Great Attractor, which lies about 147 million light-years away. It is a mysterious mass that is pulling on everything within about a 500 million light-year distance. What it is we don't know, but we do know its mass is around 10 quadrillion times more than our Sun. This is hundreds of thousands of times more than the largest ever discovered black hole, or even the most massive galaxy. It is also obscured by the Milky Way galaxy, lying directly in the path of the galactic core, and as such, we have no way to see it directly. We would have to go to far edge of the galaxy to do so, maybe even further. You can't burp in space, so you fart a lot. This is not a joke. As humans, we have a concept of time. Things have a beginning and an end. With space, I have the idea that it had always been there and always will be, but the more I think about the concept, the harder it is to understand that. Wanna know the reason we haven't been back to the moon in 50 years? First, there isn't much to do there and it's really expensive, but another reason is due to the solar flares in 1972. In 1972, between Apollo 16 and Apollo 17 missions, there was a massive solar flare that would have killed the crews if they were in space at the time. There isn't really anything you can do in space about the radiation, and it's kinda hard to predict when it's going to happen, so you just kinda gotta hope for the best. In the end, a major factor interplanetary travel hasn't become more feasible is due to this radiation. Less than 5% of the universe is matter. 95% is plasma, yet that's the only state of matter we never learn about in school. No matter how cool you think it is, no matter how much you want to go, no matter how long or how hard you train to be an astronaut, no matter how much being in space is your dream, you may still have a massive panic attack once you cross out of Earth's atmosphere and hate your time in orbit. Many astronauts experience an overwhelming sense of grief and dread upon looking at actual outer space from a shuttle window. This phenomenon actually ruined the trip to space for William Shatner, who wanted to go to space for decades. In a few billion years, if the expansion of the universe keeps on exceeding, which is the current theory, any new civilization that are born then will think their galaxy is all they have, because the universe will be expanding far beyond the speed of light, so light from distant galaxies will never reach them. Today we know of billions of galaxies out there, and we should feel privileged that the space we see today in the sky allows us some magnificent views. Future civilizations won't have that privilege, heck, they won't even know about it, which is sad. I think it's scary how much random stuff is flying around in it at high speed. I get that space is huge, and so the probability of getting killed by a projectile is pretty small, but they put the James Webb Telescope out there, and one of the mirrors is already unusable because it got hit by a meteorite. So we are on this giant for our perspective ball of rock hurtling through space at high speed around a very mediocre star. That rock has a thin film of water, and all living things we know live on the surface or in that film. Everything else in space is out there to kill us. We just got lucky so far to be able to discuss this. Even a little bit off, we would not exist. There's this thing called the Drake equation, which is used to calculate the number of alien civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy. The exact number is up for debate, but pretty much every space expert agrees there is a really good chance there are tons of aliens out there. This leads to the creation of Fermi paradox, which asks why we haven't been able to find aliens in space if there are so many mathematically calculated to be out there. Source: my professor was an award-winning NASA rocket scientist and would not shut up about this. If you gathered together all the matter in the universe we can observe right now and squished it together until it had the density of water, 1 gram per cubic centimeter, it would fit into a cube about 1 light-year on each side. There are several disturbing things about this. A single light-year is almost unimaginably huge. A cubic light-year is a ridiculous volume of space. The observable universe is 33 orders of magnitude larger than that. It is almost entirely empty. How easy it would be to become completely and totally isolated out there, in space. Technology is the only thing keeping us alive, the only reason we don't freeze, suffocate, or starve. When something like a car breaks down, we can call a tow truck and get it repaired. In space there's no such thing. Think about the Apollo 13 and everything that went wrong there. Imagine the day when humans advanced to traveling deeper into space, with noteworthy landmarks being so far apart. Navigating without a computer would be almost impossible, even if you still had communication with Earth. Imagine not having communication, completely alone in the blackness of space, or even worse. Your engines die and you're just forced to sit hoping and praying that somewhere in the vast universe someone comes across you. That's scarier than any movie monster. The largest black hole we have discovered has a diameter of 490 billion kilometers. Earth's diameter is roughly 13,000 kilometers. Here's one closer to home. The Kessler effect is the theory that a single destructive event in low Earth orbit could create a cascade where satellites break up into tiny fragments, taking out other satellites, breaking up into smaller fragments, and so on, until Earth is completely surrounded by a massive cloud of tiny flying death shrapnel, which would make leaving this planet almost impossible. If you look up how much space debris there is already up there and how many satellites currently orbit, plus continued growth of the commercial space industry, I think about it a lot. Rogue planets. Such objects have been ejected from the planetary system in which they were formed or have never been gravitationally bound to any star or brown dwarf. If a rogue planet invades our solar system, things could go very wrong. In about 150 billion years, intergalactic transportation and communication beyond our local supercluster will be impossible. In about 2 trillion years, galaxies outside of our local supercluster are no longer detectable due to redshift. Assuming the universe keeps expanding, then the universe's final fate depends on whether or not protons decay. A spoonful of degenerate matter from a neutron star would roughly weigh the same as Earth. Only a spoonful pulls out a cosmically large spoon. To me, just the fact that everything up there is doing its own thing right this very second. For example, take an exoplanet hundreds of light years from Earth. Right now on that exoplanet there is a breeze blowing, a volcano erupting, an ocean swirling. It's doing its thing just as Earth does its thing, and it does it all completely indifferent to us being there. Uranus has really cold methane clouds that contain hydrogen sulfide, so basically Uranus is covered by deadly farts. Richard Nixon prepared a speech in the event the Apollo 11 lunar launch failed. If you let go of the ropes and end up flying through space, you have a few hours before you die without air or freeze. That we are looking at the past when we are looking at outer space, because light only travels so fast. That galaxy you're looking at that's a billion light years away might not be there anymore. Also there's this stuff called strange matter and it's inside neutron stars. People theorized that if strange matter breaks out of the neutron star, it can turn everything it comes to contact with into more strange matter, and by the fact, scientists still have no clue what exactly is dark matter and dark energy. At 600 kilometers above planet Earth the temperature fluctuates between 258 and -148 degrees Fahrenheit. There is nothing to carry sound, no air pressure, no oxygen. Life in space is impossible. Opening title card in the movie Gravity. We could literally get vaporized at any moment from a space death laser traveling at the speed of light, so we can't even detect it before we're dead. Images you see are galaxies not as they are but as they are based on how many light years away they are. This is fine for anything within thousands, but if we are talking millions or billions of light years away then there is a good chance that none of those stars you see even technically exist right now. On the bright side though, if we can figure out how to move faster than light then we could see our own planet with a good enough telescope as it was in the past. We could observe any outside historical event or even dinosaurs. Time is not linear due to the constant expansion of space, therefore time is expansive. It's unfathomably infinite. We can only see a mere slice of it while light years away some other species can only see a piece, while not even able to even see our galaxy. Despite the entire size of the universe, wasps for some reason exist. The number of solar flares that have missed Earth by a thread are astoundingly disturbing. There was one solar storm back in 2014 that missed Earth by 9 days, 9 flipping days. If it had hit, we would have lost all forms of electricity and not been able to recover for 4 years, and that would have been the least of our worries. Edit, my bad, it was actually 2012, guess the Mayans were almost right. That if Earth stopped rotating for even 1 second, it would be a catastrophic event for humanity. The Great Attractor, more frustrating not knowing than disturbing, Fermi paradox, so alone, singularities undermine mathematics and logic, heat death, or big rip, eventually we die, time, so much time, we are a flash in the endless darkness, the sheer size of even the observable universe, we are nothing, there is no absolute position or time, where are we, the governing force seems to be entropy, oh yes, you boil when exposed to the vacuum. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, sharing and subscribing.